Welcome to Renderyard Interviews. Today we are speaking with Farnaz Sami, the director of Blood Moon and
Farnaz, Sami.
Farnaz Sami, the director of Blood Moon and Hellfire. How are you doing today?
Good, Mark. How are you?
I wanted to introduce you to our audience. You've got a short horror movie that we've been featuring on the Renderyard YouTube channel for nearly 9 years, and it's gained over 250,000 video views to date. Stars two fantastic actors, Brendan Beamer and Gil Darnell. And we've had a huge amount of questions have been asked left in the comments, and I thought this would be a good way to ask you as the director some of these questions, and also find out more about how you put the film together and what led to the making of such an interesting short horror film. Firstly, how did you find the story? Were you involved in the writing of the story, or was this something that you'd come across that you felt that you wanted to direct and bring your own kind of take to it?
Right. Well, I mean, I love creature and monster films, so that's something I like. So back then, when I came up with this idea, I was working at Sony Pictures, and I think they were doing this Underworld movie, and that
Yes.
kind of influenced me. And I was like, cool, I want to create something like that with werewolves and do cool stuff. So I came up, but I'm more into psychological stuff. So I came up with a storyline. It took me a few months to come up with it, and then I shared the storyline with James Wolfe, my co-writer, and we just started writing the short, the concept of it, and then I told him, hey, I think I want to make a short film, and would be cool to see how it looks like and what we can do. And we just started writing the script. We finished it, and that's how it really happened.
How long did it take to kind of flesh it out as a script?
It took us a few months to kind of flush it out, but because again, when you do independent films, you're limited to resources, and you cannot just say, hey, I'm going to make this short film, or I'm going to
Yeah.
make this film with all my ideas in it, because you don't have the budget. So you kind of have to come up with an idea that works for you. And sometimes you just, in the independent world, you just have to make your ideas work around your budget, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
usually the case. You had quite an original way of going about aiding the production of the film, because the film involved the use of stock footage, and you were able to interweave the stock footage into the kind of live action that you were directing in the editing process. Is any of the stock footage used in the film from things we might recognize, or was it material that was discarded and just not never really broadcast or used?
Yes, I ended up using some stock footage in my short because, um, like for instance, we had an alleyway that we wanted to shoot, but then we were told we need to hire a police officers, this and that, and
Mm,
some other problems. So, and it just didn't work out with our schedule. So I ended up, doing something different in post, and found some stock footage from movies like Spider-Man or some others that um, they haven't used, and I was able to utilize them in my film and make it fit.
that's great. There's a really great scene of kind of the chase through the forest with the police dogs and the lights, the torches, and the atmospheric is kind of notched up. You know, the energy of the pace of the film. Um, when you were approaching your actors, did you have the actors in mind and you just, wanted these people, or were you able to kind of discuss the role of the film with a few different people? In the end, you worked with the fantastic actors Brandon Beamer and Gil Darnell. Their kind of synergy together in the film, because they're so visually different, their voices are very different, their acting style is completely different. It works as the kind of yin and yang opposing each other, and within the movie the characters are opposing each other. Was that the dynamic you were looking for, or did that come out through the actors?
No, that's the dynamic I was looking for, but also I worked with Gil before, so I knew his acting, but I never worked with Brandon before. However, when I was younger and I was in school, I interned at the Bold and the Beautiful, and that's where I met some of the actors, and that's how I knew about Brandon. So through a friend at Bold and Beautiful, I was able to approach Brandon and ask him if he would be interested. And so he read the script and he said he loves to do it, and that's how it really all came together.
That's great. Which film had you worked with previously with Gil?
Oh, it wasn't a film. It was a teaser that we put together for an idea I had, because usually when I have some projects going on, the first thing I do is I put a teaser together, because it also helps everybody to see your vision as a director when you are, especially when you are pitching it.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. You over the years, you've kind of discussed on your Facebook page the idea of bringing Blood Moon either forward as a series or potentially as a longer feature film. Have you been able to find traction with this idea and the fact that the film's done so well on YouTube?
Yes, I'm still working on putting a TV show together. I think probably TV shows, not
Yeah.
really. Today, TV shows are more popular, and I think it would make a better TV show. It would make a better project as a TV show. So that's what I'm currently working on, trying to create a pilot and then
Okay.
package it and see where it goes.
Excellent. Are you going to be working with James Wolfe on this
Yes,
as well?
I'm currently working with him on writing the pilot.
Brilliant. Do we have a timeline, or is it all just
Hopefully by the summertime.
brilliant?
Yeah.
Okay, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. There's a huge community out there who are just clamoring to see more of
Yeah,
what you've created. So that would be awesome.
that's great.
You have a very interesting visual for the werewolf within the film. I don't want to give too much away because I really want people to watch the film. But can you tell us a little bit about the makeup and the costume design for the werewolf?
For the werewolf, well, as you can see, it was a costume, and that was another thing. I was debating back then. Hey, do I want to do it? Do I want to do visual effects, or do I want to have a costume and shoot it on the set? I'm more a fan of making things on the set because it's more realistic.
Yeah.
But again, in that case, because of the budget and our time, and I just had to shoot it. I talked to Howard Berger, and he had this costume sitting at his shop, and he said I could borrow it and use it. So that's what I did.
Brilliant. No damage.
No, I mean it worked because it's only a few seconds,
Yeah.
10 seconds seeing the werewolf. If I had to show the werewolf longer, I don't think it would have worked. But
Yeah, yeah. And how long was the shoot for
the
the film?
the shoot was really just over the weekend, so Saturday, Sunday. That's all I had.
Wow, that's great. How do you remember the hours, the
Um,
beginning of each day?
I think it was probably 8 a.m. until 9-10 p.m. But also the other challenge was the other challenge was that we really didn't have a set.
Hmm.
Like it wasn't like the set you see in the movie. It wasn't like a set that was ready to go. So we built everything.
Okay.
So the space, we got the space, but we still had to, build the bars and make it look like, a facility or prison type of, prison.
Yeah, the door in the scene, the jail cell door, I guess, it looks incredibly
Yeah.
sturdy and
So
solid. Yeah.
yes, so we had to build it. So
Okay.
including all that, yeah, it took us 2 days to shoot it.
Was everything created before you went in to do the shoot, or was that also included in the 2 days? You just started working on stuff from day one.
No, I think we started maybe a day before to because we only had that space. I
Yeah.
think really just for that weekend. So I think we started on maybe Friday night, and then we started shooting Saturday morning. So the schedule was pretty tight.
Cool. How long was post when you wrapped the shoot and then you were in the studio editing? Was it a long post, or did you just do it when you had time at the weekends or
No,
after work?
no, the post actually wasn't that bad because I had an editing system in my office, so I was able to cut it whenever I found some time to cut it. Since I cut it myself, I stayed late or
Yeah.
I went to work early, and I cut it. I think it took probably 2-3 months to do
Okay.
everything, the music and doing the mix and everything.
You worked with quite an established cinematographer, Don Fontenroy, the visual genius behind Jeepers Creepers.
Right.
How did you manage to get Don involved?
Um, I think Don saw one of my work when I finished college. It was called Body of Work. It was a short film that also took place. Well, not also. It was a short film that took place inside a morgue, and I was
Uh,
working with John McCook and Lawrence Lamas, and that's how I made the connection with Brandon Beamer. So I made that short film, and when he saw the short film, he said that he likes to work with me one day. And when I was ready to, make a
yeah,
project, I just asked him if he would be interested. So I sent him the script. He read it, and he said he loved it. Let's do it.
brilliant. There's some excellent dialogue in the film. People have responded really well just to the kind of ongoing back and forth debate between the two characters. And, it brings out a lot of who's right, who's wrong.
Well, I'm a fan of Hitchcock, so whatever I do, there is a lot of mystery and suspense.
Right.
No matter if
Yeah.
it's in shooting the movie or no matter if it's in their dialogue, I try to make things kind of twisted
Hmm.
so you can tell what's really going on or who's who. And it's always nice to leave the audience thinking, like, give them something to think about and not just say, hey, this is the werewolf and this is the patient or whatever.
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah.
I like that. That's just one of the things I like to do.
And where, from, I'm guessing from a very young age, you probably had a love of cinema and movies, but where did your kind of passion for, cinema and films, where did that start?
To be honest with you, when I was a kid, I mean, yes, I loved movies and I loved to watch movies. But unlike other people who say, "Oh, we started holding a camera when I was a kid,"
Yeah,
with me
it was
happened,
5.
right? With me happened in my adulthood. So when I was in Germany, because I lived there for 10 years, and when I was 17, 18, I started working for Endemol Entertainment, and I was working for them for 3 years, and
Hmm.
I watched them like how they were cutting shows on the flatbed,
Mhm.
you know, and
Yeah,
I always thought that this was a cool thing. So that's really when I started being interested first in editing, and then eventually when I came over to United States, I started going taking television first
mhm.
because I wanted to see if I'm interested in television or film. And I tried television. I wasn't too crazy about it back then. And then I was like, okay, I want to go to film school. And I remember my first project, I had to turn something in just to see if I can get into the film program. And it
Right.
was a small, like 2 minute action film that I shot with my 16 millimeter. And it ended up being nice and cool back then, being my first work. And then I got into the program. And that's really when I started, realizing, okay, this is what I like to do. And a lot of my professors were telling me, hey, you got the eye for the action films, you should stick with it.
Cool.
So as I was studying as I was in college and I was doing shorts here and there, that's when I really found out, okay, I have a passion for storytelling and making horror and action films. That's my thing. So
That's great. And with a lot of action films, it's the pace and the editing. So I guess being around the kind of flatbeds and the editing process, you've got a better understanding of how that technique is actually physically created, not just pointing the camera and saying, you know, action.
yeah, definitely the editing helps a lot because I edit
Mhm.
all my projects, and having the understanding of how you want to edit, you don't really waste too much time on the set because you already cut the movie in your head.
Yeah.
That really helps me all the time, even when I'm writing, either myself or with a writer. I'm already cutting on the paper, so the
Did
knowledge
you?
of editing really, I think every director really should know how to edit.
Yeah, it's invaluable, and also as storyboarding as well. Did you manage to storyboard the film, or did you have any colleagues or friends that helped with the visual, design of how things might look before they were created?
Honestly, I don't believe in storyboards because they change all the time, especially in the independent world. I feel like storyboards are such a waste of time
Okay,
because because of the budget, you cannot stick to your storyboards. You cannot
right.
stick to how you want to have things to look. So I only when I only storyboard if there's an action sequence,
Mm.
or a complicated scene that might need storyboard.
When you were younger, when you started your film career, you interned for Lightstorm, James Cameron's
Yes,
production company. How was that experience?
it was a great experience. It was great to see how things work on
Yeah,
that level. And I did a lot of script reading and a lot of talking to different people, producers, and so it was a nice experience. But when you're younger, you don't really know so much because you're just like talking to people and getting information, and so back then it was a very exciting thing to be just around people and work in a
yeah,
production house.
that kind of energy,
Yeah,
and yeah.
and see James Cameron sometimes. So that was cool.
Your second film that you created after Blood Moon is called Hellfire, and that short film, no werewolves, but again a very supernatural based
Yeah.
film. I think 100% created with stock footage, with some fantastic voiceovers of the two
Right.
actors, Hellfire and the DJ or the radio DJ.
Right.
Um, can you explain Hellfire a little bit to the audience, and what was your approach after finishing Blood Moon? Did it allow you to kind of think, okay, what do I want to do next, and where am I going to go? And I guess that's where you went when you created that film.
Hellfire was an idea I had when I was working at the studio, and it was just an idea I came up with, but it was kind of costly to shoot that idea, you know. So
Mm,
I I was thinking, what if I make a movie without shooting one single shot? And people told me, you're crazy. That's not possible. And the more they said it, the more you know inspired I got to make it happen. Because I was like, well, don't tell me I cannot do this. So
will do this.
that's when I decided, because people really thought I cannot do this. It's not possible. So first, I worked on the storyline. I came up with an idea where you don't necessarily need to see the actors. One is on the radio, and the other one is coming from the other world.
Yeah,
He's Hellfire, you know,
yeah,
and that's how I was able to get away with it. But of course, choosing the shots that would go with the storyline and how you edit it plays a major role, because if you don't know how to edit that thing, and if you don't know what kind of shots you should choose so it would go with what the storyline, then
yeah,
yeah, it's not going to work out, because I think I used 350 shots.
yeah.
uh,
There's a lot in there, and it jumps quite quickly.
yeah,
Yeah,
and the editing, I think the editing took me 3 4 months, because I was like trying different shots, trying the figuring out how to cut it and what goes with what. So
yeah,
it was a time consuming project, but it was fun to do because it helped me to take my editing skills to the next level. I think
yeah.
editing is really fun if
Mhm.
you love it.
Yeah.
Like, I really love editing. I might actually love editing more than directing, but
Now
I
people.
But I love directing too. It just feels like when you're making a movie or working on a project, like writing it, it's one movie, and directing it is another movie, and editing it, it's so you're really making three different movies.
Yeah, the one in your head, the one in reality, and
So
then the one you can kind of
and
mold at the end.
and editing is really what makes your movie. It
Mhm.
either makes it or breaks it. So
Yeah.
if you're a good editor, you know how to basically save your film.
You've recently finished shooting your latest short film, The Kid Behind the Iron Door. Um, this is a film that isn't out yet, but I guess you're about to go into the editing process. Can you tell us a bit about that, please?
uh yes, so I shot this film recently, in January. It was a 4-day shoot, and the film is around 20 minutes, and the story takes place in the 80s. This one is actually a short film, and it's a foreign film. It's in Farsi, and
Okay.
I made it because I like to send it to a lot of different film festivals and see how it will do. I know a lot of film festivals love these type of films, but also just not because of film festival. It's not the only reason I made this film. I'm also working on a feature version of it, which will, you know, which will end up being something like Taken meets Leon the Professional type of thing.
Wow, another action film.
Yeah, it starts not as an action the first 10 minutes, but yeah, then it becomes an American movie. So
Okay.
I'm working on that right now. But this short, actually, I finished the editing, and we are in the process of taking care of the sound, the dialogue editing, and the music, and the color work. Um, and yeah, so the editing is done. So I'm
Okay.
waiting for the team to finish what they're doing so we can hopefully wrap it up in the next month or so and just send it to different film festivals.
Brilliant. And can you give us an outline of what the film's about? Or
The film is about a little girl who is grieving, and it takes place in the period of time when there was a war between Iran and Iraq.
okay.
And it's 1 week before, it's like they're trying to get out of the country, but at the same time the little girl is going through that grieving stage because she lost her friend during the
Mhm.
war, and also at the same time she's trying to adapt and see how she feels like she doesn't fit in that world, and also she feels like she's not going to fit in the new world that her parents are going to introduce to her soon. I wrote it myself, and I finished a draft on my own, and then I had a writer friend, her name is Amy Amani, to work with me on this and make it tighter and nicer, and so we can move forward and shoot it. She actually lives in England,
Okay.
so she is half Persian, half American, and she lives in England.
Awesome.
On this film, everybody is very, very international.
Okay, excellent. Through your career and what you've learned, um, if you could speak to your younger self, what kind of advice would you give her to, navigate her way through this crazy world of filmmaking?
Um, well, I mean, if you want to be a filmmaker, I guess you just have to go for it. It's not an easy thing to do.
Mm,
It's not something you can. You're not going to succeed overnight. It just takes time. It takes a lot of years, and it's real. You have to have a thick skin. You're going to get a lot of rejections, um, but you just have to get through it. If you're passionate about it, you will find a way to make things happen,
yeah,
because you're going to get a lot of no's from people, and sometimes you just have to think about it and see, is this something you really want to do? And if it is, then just stick with it and don't give up until you
yeah,
succeed. I mean, I've
brilliant.
been doing it for 20 years and I'm still doing it. It is hard,
Yeah,
especially if as a woman, if you want to do action and horror films, it's harder. So, but again, it depends where you are. I think in
mhm,
Europe, it's they welcome more artistic films, and here in United States, it's more about commercial films. So there are two different things. Luckily, I love commercial films, and my passion is horror and action films. So um, it depends where you are and what you want to do. No matter what you want to do, if you really want to do it, stick to it and do it.
brilliant.
That's the only way you can succeed.
So, for the viewers and listeners of today's interview, you can there's a link in the description to watch Blood Moon, and we'll also leave a link for Hellfire. And enjoy both films. And if you have any questions that you would like to leave Farnaz, or just join the conversation in the YouTube comments, that'd be awesome. And thank you very much for having you on today.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
If you would like to submit your film to Renderyard for distribution, please go to our website at www.renderyard.com click the Submit Film tab, enter your film details, and we will review your film and get back to you.